Hello. Welcome to this episode of Scripting the Book. Today we are going to be talking about Percy Jackson. So we got season 2 that's just come out on Disney. So hopefully you guys got to see that on Disney Plus. And we did season 1, I think, a little over a year ago. It's a lot of fun. And we are reading the book. So we're into book 2. Let's let my fabulous friends and co-hosts introduce themselves. We'll start with Natalie and swing it back around.
I'm Natalie Locke, co-writer of 1,000 Words to Get Started, 1,000 Words to Ignite Romance. I'm not going to reach.
I know. You would think I would.
I just don't feel like it. But I'm mostly active on Instagram for anyone who wants to follow, and I am constantly writing. I just finished editing and sent off a sci-fi for review, so we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
And I'm Ben Pick. I am a writer of the series behind me, Into the Void, and you can find me every Monday night on my YouTube channel, Running2Write, where I give questionable writing advice to my running metaphors, but I've since switched over to doing productivity sprints. So if you want to do something on a Monday night, feel free to join in on the fun. I'm actually going to be on an off schedule, so instead of Monday night, it will actually be next Saturday at noon. So just one thing to note. But
as long as we get to see you, we're fine.
Exactly. So every year.
Awesome. And I'm Nia, the Vixen of Fiction. You are here on my channel. I'm here. I'm also over on Twitch on Mondays and Fridays in the middle of the day. And yeah, I do writer stuff. I have some books out under NB James if you're into cozy, contemporary fantasy shorts. That's what I have out while I work on the bigger epic things, which seem to be taking forever. But when I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the big things, and so it's just taking me forever to get through it. And then I go back to it and I'm like, I forgot what was happening here. Oh my goodness. Sometimes happens when you're writing epic fantasy and epic sci-fi. So I've been having fun with that, but I'm here on the internet. You can come hang out with me. We do this once a month. So like I said, today we are going to be talking about Percy Jackson. We're into book 2. Let's see. Everybody's read this one, yes? Mm-hmm. All right. So we've all read it. Anybody a dislike? Drum rolling. Da, 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 da. I have neutrals, likes, I'm a like, and a love. Yay. All right, Ben, why do we love it?
Okay, so the first book is your standard Greek whatever story. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It's kind of, it follows very, very specific beats. And this one does the same sort of thing, in that you have a prophecy that tells you exactly what's going to happen. And I was reading this as, I feel like an adult, but a young adult. So in my early 20s. So I when I read the first book, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew exactly how the prophecy would be kind of circumvented and what it actually meant. And the same sort of thing happened with this one too, where I could see exactly how the prophecy would be fulfilled, even though it seems like it's basically telling them you're going to fail or whatever. And so I could see exactly how the heroes would succeed, because that's what happens in these kinds of stories. And even with that, there was still this fundamental twist at the end, which was really caught me off guard. And I like that. And this entire book expands the Percy Jackson universe a lot for the time. There are subsequent series that add in a whole lot more, like Roman and Norse mythology and everything. But as far as just Percy Jackson goes, when this book came out, that's all we had. And I know I read it later when those series were still there, but it expanded this Greek Camp Half-Blood in such an interesting way, and it gave so much more depth to the characters that not until you get to those later series does a book in this series expand that world so much and show so much character development. So of like the 5 original Percy Jackson series, this is the one that really opened it up for me.
I like that. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I like this one. I believe I was an adult when I was reading this one. My kids did read this one, so I kind of read it before them. When did I read it? I think I read these in the early 2000s. I'm not. When were they written? But I know I believe I read these in the. Were they written in the 90s? Shame on me for not reading them. And so yeah, so these are definitely faves of my kids. The movies came out later. We can discuss that briefly if you want. But they did enjoy the books. I will say that. So, and I remember reading through this one and thinking, oh, yep, these are good. I maybe read just the first 2 or 3. Once if we get to season 3 and read book 3, once I read it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I read this one too. I'll remember then or not. But I did enjoy them. They are middle grade. They are a great middle grade book. I think it's perfect for that age group. And though as an adult, I feel like there's things that I would have done differently if I were writing for an older audience. And we can talk about that kind of stuff once we get to the movie, because Riordan is working on the show. Did not work on the movies, but he is working on the show. So we'll be able to discuss some of the things that some of the changes that he's made as, someone creating this same thing, but creating it for an adult and adults and children and a wider audience. But this he's created for middle graders, and I think it hits the button. I think it's great. And why are we real Nat?
The books came out from 2005 to 2009.
Okay, that makes sense.
The first one was 2005. Sea of Monsters, that book was released in 2006.
Perfect.
And then after
that makes sense. So I was reading them in the 2000s. I was like, I picked them up.
Yeah,
in the
pretty much one a year, which is probably why they're very interconnected. Because I bet you the author probably had all of these written.
Probably.
To be able to release them sequentially by year, he probably had all of them written as he was querying.
That makes sense. Because the first movie, when was that? 2010 or 11. So that's a great timeline for him then, to have them starting in 2005, popping out one a year, probably like you said, already written, and then they were picked up to be a movie. I think that's how catching it was, and how intriguing kind of had that effect. So that makes a lot of sense. What did we without spoiling it, Ben did a really good job. Actually, I think there's like no notes on what Ben said, but anybody else, anything we want to add about the storytelling or anything like that without spoiling it for people who want to go into the books fresh? Because if you are watching the show, you will find some differences, so we don't want to mess that up for you.
I guess for me, it's not until I became older that I realized this, but someone brought to my attention, and it was probably in the last time we did this, but they brought to my attention the ableist approach of where anyone with a decreased vision or blindness and everything, they're the bad guy. And that kind of continued on.
Yeah, you'll see that in the book, and we'll get to that when we get into spoilers. But there is that aspect, and I think it maybe. No, we'll talk about that when we get to the movie. But
I will say it was done better this go around, because there's not just one.
Yes.
However, it's now. I'm more of aware of it, but I also to defend the author, we're talking about Greek retelling. I mean, it's
very ableist and kind of misogynist and all of those things.
Yeah, like every single culture that has gods, multiple gods and stuff like that, all of the gods and goddesses have always a weird flaw. Every single one of them, despite being divine and such. And so in most cases they make that happen, no matter what culture you're reading into. So I'm not blaming the author for the source material having ableist tendencies.
Yeah.
But ever since, like I said, now that it's been brought to my attention, the blinders are gone, and I can see it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say exactly the same. Even when and oddly I did notice it more as I went back and reread the books than I did as I was watching the movie or the TV show. I call it a movie. It's very cinematic. We'll get to the series.
It's just a really long movie.
Yeah, like a really long movie. Exactly. As I was rereading, the ableist things did stand out more, and then I actually went back and thought about how did they do that in this? Oh yeah, yep.
They didn't really. In the show, it was a lot less than in the book.
Yes, the show was a lot less in the book, and they did some things that help fix it so it doesn't seem. We'll get to the show, but in the book, you are going to see that particularly when we talk about the Cyclopses, there's just a lot there. So just be aware that is in the book, and it is from the source material. So it's kind of like what does the author do with the source material? How do you play into it? How do you, try to retcon it if you want to retcon it? So we see what Rick Riordan does in the 2000s versus what he's doing in the year 2020, in the 2020s now, 20 years later, getting another hand at his work. So any other thoughts on the book before we move on to talking about the show? All right, let's go for it. On the Sea of Monster, the show. What do we think of the show? Anybody a dislike on season 2? Anybody a neutral on season 2? Neutral. Who's a like on season 2? I'm a high like on season 2. So, do we want to start with the best or the worst?
Actually, I really want to hear Ben.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
It's shocking when he's at one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
But I'm more used to him being a dislike and explaining it well. So now I'm really curious why one was love practically, and now we're dropped. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, what happened? Where did Rick and the directors go wrong? Because Rick,
I'm honestly surprised.
Any changes that happen, Rick is either saying make it happen. They're his changes, or he's 100% green lighting. He's enthusiastic.
Yeah, I did no research on the show before this, so Natalie, that is actually shocking for me that Rick Riordan is associated with this because of some of those specific changes that we alluded to. It completely changes the specific character motivations.
Yes.
It changes the interactions with the gods and their motivations, and because of those things, they needed to raise up somebody else as an antagonist who was not. I mean, that character was in the book, but not nearly as pivotal as a villain as they were in the show because of those changes they made. They had to do some drastic alterations, and I feel like I know where they want to go for season 3. But because of the track they laid down, like I feel like it's just going to go off a cliff at this point. So they made a lot of changes, and it felt like the changes they made were so that they could put their stamp of approval on this show, and their own sort of takes on it. And I'm when we get to the spoiler section, I'll just air it all out. So I'm trying to be very, very delicate in what I'm saying, but basically, the changes they made from the book did not work well for me because it drastically altered the plot, the characters, everything behind it. And I had a couple of very, very specific setting, I'll say, appearance issues within the show too.
Okay. And I would say I'm probably, for the same reason why this is a high like for me. And we're going to be into spoilers in just a sec, but I want to do this non-spoilery part really quick. I think that there are a couple of them that they made the show. They succinct it in an episode in a way that moved things forward faster and better. So there's a particular change where they're on an island that I'm like, I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about this change, but once it all played through, ended up being one of my favorite episodes, which Ben is probably gonna crawl out of his skin over that.
No,
I
that's
I
fine.
liked
My
it
least
a
favorite
lot.
episode was the last one. I will say that much. So that's like the entire season was going so well, and then that last one just threw a wrench into everything.
Interesting. Okay. So this one particular is one of actually. There's another change that kind of happens early on that I also liked, and the other thing that I liked is that you're coming into this. It's still kind of Percy's POV, but it's not Percy's POV in the same way that it is in the book. Therefore, a lot of things that are happening with the characters, we can get more in-depth detail on the characters. And this season, there are characters that I actually really like that I didn't like them in the book because you're seeing them only from Percy's point of view, and they're super annoying, or they're super like very surface level, superficial. I feel like every single character, I like them better because I can see them. I'm not just seeing them through Percy's eyes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And Nat, do you want to
we
do
were
one before
judging
we
them
get
in
to
the book
spoilers?
based on how they treated Percy and how Percy treated them,
Exactly.
and that was the
And how
only
he perceived.
snapshot. And you can't judge a person off just one type of interaction, because I'm a different person with y'all on here than I am at work, than I am with my family, you know? So.
Yeah. And not only that, but bigly that, but also because of who we are individually, when someone says something to us, we interpret that a certain way because of everything that we've gone through in our backgrounds and all of that stuff. So someone can say something and be very turt and very straight. They're not trying to be rude, but we might interpret it like, why do they hate me? Why are they talking to me like that? You know, but that's how I see it, because that's how I internalize so everything that we're reading in the book. And this is one of the things I really looked out for, because I was like, why do I like several of these characters? I like them more, or I understand them more. And as I went through and reread, I was like, that's why, because I realized Percy says they're this, they're that, or Percy is perceiving them as this or that. So that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this season. So there's several characters that I like more, or didn't like at all, that I like now. So let's go ahead, and we're going to get into now. We're going to do the thoughts on the adaptation. We're going to go ahead and talk about those things, but spoilers now, folks. Spoilers now. So if you want to watch first, those were our opinions, where we stand, without any spoilers. So let's get into it. So, Ben, go ahead. So we can.
Okay. So the villain was hands down the best actor here, and Luke was just acting circles around everyone else around them. But because there's like so again, this is show spoilers only. They bring back, there's this prophecy which is like hidden from all the characters, and it turns out that every single person is lying to the heroes except for Luke, which is a problem when the characters all like hate Luke, whatever, and he's supposed to be the antagonist, except that he's the only one telling the truth. He's the only one like helping out the heroes. He's the only one who's doing the altruistic thing, which means that he is in essence a hero. Like, Luke is the hero of this story, and everyone else is a monster. Everyone else is looking out for their own selfish ends. Everyone else is doing it for themselves. And I know obviously Percy and Annabeth are the exception because they are the actual heroes. But like, I have this this thing I found on Reddit. So full credit to NT King 300. But there's this moment where Chiron lied about a hero receiving a reward, and they were basically just silenced by Zeus. And it completely destroys the relationship between Annabeth and Chiron, because he lied to her for years. It destroys the camp being like this sense of home and protection because a god came in and harmed their own child, and it again makes Luke out to be somebody who is right, somebody who is helpful, somebody who is on the side of truth, which I get that, adults lie to kids when they have to get them to act in a certain way, but at the same time, it twists every lie that they tell. It twists everything. And there's also a point where both the villain and the heroes want the same thing, and nobody sets that up as like a red flag, which is a huge problem because at least and I get that Percy is just going to be headstrong and he's going to do what he thinks is right, but Annabeth should at least question some of the issues that don't line up and say, maybe like pause for a second and be like, wait, if the villains want this thing, maybe we shouldn't be wanting it too. So I don't want, I want to wait for like the final spoilers because this is going to go into some of the differences between the book.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a situation where the villain is right over the heroes, and the heroes are helping out somebody who is too self-absorbed, Zeus, to do the right thing, and they are covering for Zeus for doing the wrong thing. That's like ultimately what happened. So
yeah,
I actually like that diversity though. Of
same.
I love it because to me it's making someone fit into a box, but then realize the top of the box is open. And so that something else can be there, that there's like a Venn diagram overlap. We don't have just individual circles of evil, good, bad, and everything. That truth is universal. It can be for anyone. And there's my truth and your truth, and then there's the truth. And us as the viewers, we get to differentiate what the truth is. And the fact that it came from an unlikely source, it became this situation. And I saw this happening multiple times of even when someone told the truth because some other action made them become untrustworthy, you questioned even the truth. And I saw it happening constantly in the show where it was always questioning who can you trust. And at a certain point, you just got to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of like this. It kind of keeps us in this space of we are, no matter what, we're rooting for our heroes, but are they always going to be right? And maybe they're not. And are we okay with that? Literally, are we okay with that? So
like the fatal flaw analysis I thought was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, and this is like a masterclass writing 101 of your character needs to have a fatal flaw.
Yeah. And I like the way that it's done so much better than it is in the book.
I think Ben disagrees with us. What do
I
you
do.
I think so. And
bring it on.
Because they can't, like, the point of having a fatal flaw, the point of all this is you can say, you're a jerk and you care too much about your friends, and that's going to lead you to make the wrong choice down the road, or you're too prideful and that's going to make you overconfident in what you're thinking of. But it makes me frustrating when they say, like, by the way, your fatal flaw is XYZ. By the way, like, let me just spell out for you
because
the plot of the show.
That was the thing, because it wasn't. I say we all, because this is one of the ones I had to go to the internet after, because I knew it was different. I knew that this was different. So I was like, his fatal flaw like this, but why?
His fatal flaw changes over the books, but like at this point, his fatal flaw is his willingness to do whatever he can for his friends. Later on, yes, there's this fatal flaw plot point for I think like book 4 or 5. But for right now, who Percy is right now, his fatal flaw is like they accurately said it.
Yes. So they accurately said it for him. They didn't for Annabeth. Well, what they did is they called it straight out for Annabeth, and I was like, oh, that's okay.
They call it pride. Like, they call it pride. She labeled it herself.
Yeah. So then we hear what they're saying, and then we see we're movies show spoilers. Okay, so then we see, you know, Percy get turned into a gerbil. The whole thing. This is so much better. I just like the way it flowed and played out. So this is the episode that I thought flowed and played out way better than the book. I enjoyed it in the book. No, I did. And I think also this is, I'm an adult. I was an adult reader early on, back in the 2000s when I read it, and I'm an adult watching it, and I was adult watching the movies with my children as well. So I'm from an adult lens. I just liked the way it played out better. The motivations were better. The call out was better. And then when we hear that this is Percy Jackson's fatal flaw, we don't know to the extent until we start to actually see it. And I like the child actors, and we got to remember these kids were, I think, maybe 12 or 13 and 14 when they were first cast. They are only 14 and 15 filming this. They're doing a great job. The eye changes, like you can see in their eyes, things, and I think that their acting is only going to get better. Fingers crossed. But a lot of people who are enjoying the show are enjoying the acting. I have seen some criticism, but I think, because I kind of like, after I watch and I kind of analyze for myself, with shows like this, because they are popular, so a lot of people are talking about them, I like to go on, and there seems like a great divide between the book purists. They don't like anything. Some of the book we love the books, but we're trying to watch the show, very critically. And then there's people who are watching the show and just absolutely loving it and then going to the books. And then there's those of us who are in the middle, who we really enjoyed the books, and now we're just watching the show and we're really enjoying the show. So, and I think I've landed on one side of the internet versus the other, because I see a lot of people who are really enjoying the show and are like really liking the child actors. And some of the actors are older, and I feel like you can tell the older actors from the literal children still, but I feel like the children even talk about their acting in interviews, where they're drawing from, and so I feel like there have been some really bad child actors, and these kids are not them. They're pretty good for
they're moldable.
Yes,
and we can see the growth. Like,
yes, you can
just
see
like in anything, they're gonna get better as long as they don't get complacent and think that they're hot shit or whatever. They're gonna improve.
That part. Yeah, exactly. Because you can see them getting better, and you can, when you hear them talking about their acting, you can see where they're improving on. And the problem, I think, with some of the characters is that they are supposed to be playing, and I feel like the younger actors, like mid-20s and younger, have a harder time when they're supposed to be playing a more dry and serious character. People just think, oh, look, they're being very flat. No, they're not. That's the acting. That's the character. Read the book. That character is very dry, very cranky, very flat.
That's what happened in Dune. It's supposed to be non-emotional, and then it comes across
as, can they act?
No, you don't know how to act.
Yeah, and particularly the actress that plays Clarissa. So I watched an interview with her because I wanted to see what she's thinking about this character, because as I'm watching, I'm like, wow, she's one of the characters I like way better in the show than I liked in the book. And even she said when she read the book, she did not like this character. So that's just the character that she's playing, where Annabeth is also a more serious character, but she kind of teeters on, she's like this cross between Clarissa and Percy, where Percy is more heart, more my friends and the emotion. Clarissa is very much the mission, and chop down anybody who gets in the way of the mission. Percy is chop down anyone who gets in the way of my friends. And
I love the switcheroo later for that. That was beautiful, I thought.
Yes. So from watching the show, these are things that, even though I was able to enjoy them in the book, these are why I'm enjoying them so much better in the show. it doesn't hit the love for me, even though I would probably rewatch it. Like if someone was like, usually that's the determiner of whether something hits a love. I would still rewatch it. That's why it's the like love. But it's enjoyable. There's parts that that even though they did succinct them in the show, were the things that flowed, that episode that we just talked about particularly flowed so much better. The reveal for Annabeth and Percy, and showing everything that he literally is going to do anything for his friends. I think that flowed better. And Tyson, I like Tyson so much better in the show. I liked him in the book. And this is where we get into some of the ableist stuff. I think that we're doing slight retconning because Tyson comes off as different, and you can see it, and that's fine. But I think
it's like social awkwardness.
Yes, it's more social awkwardness. Where in the book, it was really like this kid, oh my goodness, not got it all going on.
I don't want to go into the book though. Let's be careful.
Yeah.
I do have a question for Ben before we go into the comparison. Let's say we choose not to watch season 3. Would you still watch it on your own if we didn't do it for scripting the book?
I mean, yes, but that's just because I run out of shows to watch with my wife, and we both have read the book, so we have like
reluctantly, yes. Okay.
Yes, but I do. My how can I work? Because again, we're going to spoilers, but my prediction for season 3 is that they ramped up Talia's character as like a potential. There was some going back and forth in book number 3 with her and Percy, but it never like got too out of hand. And because of the changes they made for the show, it is baking in drama which doesn't need to be there. It changes the characterization of Talia with Zeus, and it changes the characterization with Percy, the other gods, and it I feel, again, I am very surprised that you told me Rick Riordan is involved in this, because to me it reads as they didn't have enough faith in the material, so they had to come up with a new source for added drama to bake into the show for season 3.
And what I've learned from what's going on with Rick Riordan, and there might be more because a lot of it is I'm taking it in secondhand, is that he is, for some things it seems like if he could do it again, but also if he could do it in a way that is literally not just bringing this to the middle grader, but also so that the entire family, the young child, the middle grader, the adult, and just a general audience person can watch it and enjoy it. And these are the things that he would do. Also, the things that make for better TV. I think we had this issue with when we did Bridgerton. A lot of if I had to watch Bridgerton as it was laid out in the book, especially season 2, book which was book 2, I think they did those in order, it would be much more boring. The ramped up drama, even though I was like not wanting it because I knew where Shonda Rhimes was going to do that drama. I knew exactly what she was going to do, and she did it, but it made for great TV. And for a lot of people, that's why season 2 of that is their favorite, because it's that extra drama. That's not that extra drama, even though the thing plays out the same. That added drama is just not in the book. It just makes for better TV sometimes. To keep that, and that's just everybody loves the drama. I don't always love the drama, but that is the way that's just where we're at.
But the way the drama plays out, it makes the villain, it makes me not want to root for Percy and Annabeth. It makes me want to root for Luke and have the gods just be the Greek gods be taken out by the Titans, and just all the disaster that'll come from that. Like it.
Yeah, but is that a bad thing though?
Yeah, but, if I'm rooting against the protagonist of the show, it's definitely a bad thing.
Okay, so here's the thing: is it never brings me to the point of I'm going to now be actively rooting, because if you know or you're told when, and okay, so we are very much in spoilers, when one of these people turns 16, that they're going to do bad things. If it's
No,
Percy,
it's not that they're going to do bad things, it's that they're going to be given a choice.
Okay. But
that will determine the world. So you are standing on a precipice of saving the world or destroying it.
But are we ever going to not be on Percy's side? And therein lies I feel like therein lies the dilemma.
I mean,
we could do a fall from grace situation.
Yeah.
Like, it very well could happen. I think, if I remember correctly, I only read books 1 and 2. I did not read past that. So any future seasons I'm going to be reading again. So we'll see. Also, like we said, apparently where we're headed, reading the books isn't going to let you know really what happens anyway.
Yeah. And that is another thing I'm where I differ from a lot of book readers. I actually like a little bit of surprise when I watch. Typically when I watch a Jane Austen adaptation, they're fairly faithful. When the creator of the whatever movie or show does something different, it always surprises me, and I do think, oh, do I like that or not? But those are ones that are done many times. So if you don't like one adaptation, you can just watch another. And I feel like, unfortunately, for the people who really just want a book faithful show, I think that this is now going to be twice for those people that they're not getting what they want. Because the movies were what they were. And now we've got a show that, even though it's getting pretty good reviews overall, it's not perfect. It still has its flaws, and then it's also still different enough from the source material that it's gonna be upsetting for people who just really want a book faithful thing, or closer, or just the changes. Sometimes I feel like some people are like, why did it have to be that change though?
Yes,
I don't mind if you change this, but
I don't want them to make something that fundamentally changes the character's motivation. This change makes a drastic change to the entire setting of the show, because yes, we're told what it transforms a heroic sacrifice into covering up a cover up, and it, like I said, it seems like it's only put in there to build up the drama of the future of season 3. And like, yes, I know that the Greek gods are bickering and they're very selfish, and in every story Zeus is the villain. In every like actual non-Percy Jackson story, Zeus is absolutely the villain. But
yeah, like, I'm moving into full spoilers for you, then. That way it'll help you out, because I can see you thinking about, what can I say, what can I not? Go for it. Go ahead.
Okay, full spoilers. In the book, it's really interesting because they get the fleece to bring back to the tree, but they don't know that the fleece is going to revive the person who the tree is. Like Zeus, in the book, there was this heroic battle getting the 3 people, Annabeth, Talia, and Luke, to Camp Half-Blood. And Talia sacrifices herself, but she dies in doing so. And Zeus rewards her by turning her into a tree that then protects the entire camp. So that is like a worthy sacrifice. That is just textbook heroic story, where the character fulfills what they need to do. They don't necessarily survive, but they're rewarded in the afterlife. They're rewarded by giving back to others. And here in the show, it's, oh, you're almost 16. There's this prophecy where you're going to be given a choice, and I can't trust you to make the right choice. So I'm given this opportunity where you are fighting these monsters, and it could go either way. I'm just going to take you off the board. So I'm going to eliminate my own daughter. I'm going to turn her into a tree. And in the book, like I said, where there's this really interesting twist where I knew, like, obviously they're going to bring back the fleece, and where it says you're going to abandon your friends or you're going to fail or whatever, I could see exactly how, oh, she's probably going to get on like a Pegasus or something along those lines and fly back to camp or whatever. And they put the fleece on the tree and it revives it. But then in the book, we're given Talia, and it's like this big surprise. And I was actually thought that was an incredible moment in the book. And they just took that entire thing away because for multiple episodes, they're like, oh, if we put the fleece on the tree, Talia will come back. Like, there's no reason that they should know any of that. They're just trying to heal the tree so they can protect camp. And then Luke finds out. And so because Luke finds out, then now your protagonist and your antagonist want the same thing, where they want to put the fleece on the tree.
Yeah.
They want to heal it. They want to bring back Talia. And so they have to raise up another antagonist who is just paper thin in terms of motivations, where we don't like her because she tried to hunt Grover. And so then we're just, that villain has to get what she deserves. And there's a couple of mini battles here and there, but she has no real character aside from just bad. And of course she starts hacking the tree, and so then we know that she's definitely like evil, and she deserves to. She basically they created a new problem. They had to replace Luke, so they raised up another character to be the villain, and in doing so, it just made the entire story less. It made the characters between Chiron, who now is lying to protect Zeus, it makes him permanently untrustworthy. And he had like this fun moment at the end of the book where he came to the rescue, and that doesn't happen here, obviously because of money and time within the show. But because he is not the hero of the book, and worse, is now the villain in the book who's covering for a crime that Zeus committed, it just drags down the show in a way which, in my opinion, made it worse.
I actually disagree.
Yeah, same. I'm sorry. I feel bad because I'm like, oh,
no, that's fine. I want to hear this.
Yeah, it goes back to the
talk. I monologue
trust, because it's
Mm-hmm.
to me, Luke is not a foregone concept, I guess, or
his father's still trying to save him.
Like there's a redemption arc. Yeah. Okay. Maybe because we're moms that we just have this hope.
We're like, yes, if he can be saved, we want him to be saved.
But I actually like this idea of, just because the girl who had graduated and now is on Luke's team as like second in command or whatever.
Nobody knows her name. It's fine.
Yeah. Just because she was at camp and great and awesome, and doesn't mean that she was destined to be great. I think she was, and I like that arc of like, you get around certain people, you might go downhill. Then I also like the other arc of the situation that we already discussed, of just because you're on the bad side doesn't mean you don't have truth
and good motivations. Yeah.
And motivation. And then I like that there's a redemption arc. And then also I think by having the other messages is the evil always exists, the face is going to change. So just because Luke stepped aside doesn't mean it wasn't going to happen. No, there was already a following, so someone was going to step up. And that was to go historically on that was actually a constant concern with Hitler with trying to off him. They worried about who was going to be the person that would step into that role. Yes. And that is a common theme as well. So I actually I feel like there is depth there. We didn't get to see a lot of it and know the motivations of what made her cross from golden child at camp to now on the bad side. But we know something may have happened and everything. And we just accept her, her goals.
Her change, her new goal. Yes. And I also think, and the way that I kind of like reckon it in my mind is that, again, we're getting the story from Percy's perspective, and Percy only knows what he's been told. I actually like the idea that, as far as they are concerned, Thalia was still the hero. Thalia was going to do the thing that she needed to do to be the hero. It's just that she gets in that moment, Zeus interferes, and she's turned into a tree. So as far as they're concerned, Annabeth's concerned, it's still the same. This is Thalia, and I never got that they knew for sure that Thalia was going to come back, because I think she even said a couple times, I think that they knew it would heal the tree, but the hope was that it would also bring back Thalia. But they weren't 100% sure that she would actually come back, just that they knew that the tree would be healed, and hoped that also that it would happen. There's at some points, I think, that they'll say it's gonna happen, it's gonna bring her back, but they didn't know, because you don't know what exactly is going to happen. So I never took it as they know 100% for sure that she is going to come back in her full form.
And I think they had to mention it, because for a viewer who hadn't read the books,
yeah, I think they did mention
Thalia just appeared at the end, we'd be like, where the hell does she come from? Like, if we didn't know the backstory of like she was made the tree and everything. Okay, yeah. We talked enough. Ben, your counter.
No. So the whole reason that Annabeth got Luke on her side was because she told him that the fleece would bring Thalia back. And I don't necessarily care that the woman who rose up in Luke's place to become the villain doesn't have much of a backstory or whatever. I'm just saying that she is interchangeable. Like, they should have left Luke as the villain. But because they changed because they aligned him with the heroes, they needed to raise somebody else up to then, take his place. Whereas in the book, he always knew, like, oh, well, we're going to use the fleece on Kronos, bring him back to Hull. But if the heroes defeat us, we have this backup plan. And that was like the coolest part of the book, where, even when the heroes win, even when they bring the fleece back to camp, they undo themselves because they bring, a bishop back onto the chessboard that they thought that was eliminated or something like that. And the show just undoes all of that good well. And I mean,
that is fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah, we interpret different things from watching the same thing.
Yeah,
so that's fine.
That's the beauty of art.
It is.
Okay.
I feel like going forward, I think Rick has something in mind. It's as if, do you know how we are writers? So when we're writing something and the story could go one way and we have to make a decision if we go this direction. And sometimes we think, if we could do those changes that maybe we thought we would have done, woulda, coulda, shoulda, what would it be like? And I feel like Rick is getting a little bit of that, with also input from other directors and stuff. But I think if he hates it, we would see him step away from it. Because we've seen this before, where someone says, I'm going to be involved, and then they're not involved, and they step away and they don't say anything. And that's not what he's doing. He's actively excited for what's happening. So I feel like going into season 3, I think I can see that there's going to be this change. I'm trying to remember I don't know if I read all of book 3. So now when I reread it, I'll see. But I feel like there is going to be more clash that we're going to see. This is some of the stuff that we didn't talk, that we were saying, trying to hold back from spoilers. We are going to see more clash between Thalia and Percy. And I feel like I'm okay with that, because, again, only Percy's POV in this book. So now we're going to see, like we get to see with the tree, what actually happened, allegedly, possibly, at least in the show. The show is saying that this is what actually happened. And to me, it doesn't take away Thalia's sacrifice. She was still going to do the thing. She's still like, you guys go, I'm gonna hang back and fight these dudes to give you guys a chance to get in the cap. To me, it does. None of that takes that away. It's just that now we get to know, oh, snap. That's why she actually got turned into a tree. Her motivation was still the same.
Yeah, but in that situation, so, okay, a couple things. So first of all, Natalie, you were talking about how Luke is going to go on a Zuko redemption arc and whatever. And I feel like now the show has to make the gods also do the same thing, which didn't happen in the book, where now Zeus has to go from being a deadbeat dad to being, you know, an actual, however decent they'll make him by the end of season 5 if they get that far. But also by Zeus turning Talia into a tree, Talia might have survived the battle in that situation because she was a fantastic fighter. She had her weapons. She was on not necessarily home field because she didn't really know, you know, what else was there. But other campers could have shown up. Like there's a whole lot of other factors that are now in play where Zeus kind of took all of Talia's agency away from her. And so that means that in season 3, and again, all this is predictions, you know, we are going off script here in terms of how the books are worded, but like it means that whenever Talia and Percy are going against each other, like Talia always has the moral high ground because Zeus stole years of her life away from her, and honestly, if they didn't get the fleece back, she would still be a tree. Like she would permanently be a tree if Percy didn't go on the quest. So that means that, you know, where in the book they were kind of butting heads and it was somewhat friendly, somewhat rivalry, somewhat you know, you are older than me, so you might be destroying the world come next year. If season 3 moves forward at this current trajectory, like it means that Talia should always be in the right, even if she's being a complete jerk, even if she is doing the completely wrong thing, she's still like Percy should be there to help her out, and at this point should not rein her in for anything because she is, unless they do massive character assassination, she's inherently right.
So I'm trying to grasp why she's inherently right, because to me it's coming across like because she had this injustice done to her, she can't do any wrong.
I don't know how far they're going to take her on the show, but yes, because like she should be able to go on any quest she wants. She should have no regard for what the gods tell her. So anytime that Chiron says, no, don't do this, no, whatever, it's too dangerous for you to do this, it's, you know, it goes against the camp's interest, she should just disregard anything that he says because he was lying to protect the person who imprisoned her for years.
Yeah.
So not necessarily right, but she's going to be very
abrasive.
Yeah, it's self-centered, but like there's a potential where she'd be like, I don't care, I'm not here to make friends. I'm like that character arc of I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to do this. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I got a better idea.
Yeah.
So in that way, I agree. Like she'll think she's right, but I think as the audience might foresee a flaw.
Yeah. And this show is very much setting up that even like with the prophecies, that just because we think we know something doesn't mean that it's going to be the way that we've interpreted, even if they want us to believe it's interpreted a certain way. It's being baked in. It's inherent now that they can tell us that the sky is going to turn purple. But what does that mean? So we can think the sky is literally going to turn purple, or, you know, someone's going to, you know, throw, you know, purple powder up in the sky. We don't really know what that means. So I think the show is setting that up very well. And I think it's also doing something different with the level of parenting. I think what we're seeing this dynamic play out with everyone and their parents that is actually making for a more compelling story, because I think that early on we see that they're just popping out these kids and just tossing them over here, go to the camp, and really whatever kind of like whatever
only claim them if their life is threatened.
Yeah, exactly. And so now I think that we're actually getting some depth of these kids needing and wanting their parents. And I think even with Hermes, we're seeing how much, even though they're supposed to be these gods and demigods, how much they want to interfere but are also trying to hold back. It's this, we're seeing this push and pull.
It's the dichotomy of parenthood of you're trying to train your kids for the world but also let them figure out their own place.
Yeah, and I think that we've got Lin-Manuel is playing Hermes, and Toby Stevens is playing Poseidon, and then we're getting to see Athena, and we've seen Zeus. We're seeing so much more of not and again with Tyson, the way that they just throw away these Cyclopses, and it's just like. It's quite sad, and we're in full spoilers, guys. So in the books, they just leave them on the streets to,
he's home.
Whatever happens to him happens.
He was homeless before, and that was kind of the ending.
Yeah, and I'm loving Percy's mom so much better. The whole taking him in.
He's like the one good parent, the human.
Yes.
He's the
one like parent goals. Okay. She listens. She doesn't overstep. She steps in when she needs to. I think we've seen when Annabeth, what actually takes her away, what tricked her when she goes to see the sirens. She thinks she's winning. She's got this. She's like, I know you guys are tricking me here. That wasn't the trick. Trick was when her mom came. She lost it. We're seeing that,
which I still disagree with the physics of the world of Percy going, yeah, you like blocked me from their thing, and I'm like, sound moves around objects, man. Like, what do you mean she blocked you from succumbing?
I don't think he even he understands. If his fatal flaw is that he'll do anything to save his friends, I think we just saw his fatal flaw being played out.
That's when your fatal flaws come from a strength, and his strength is his friends. So therefore, in this case, it was showing as a strength instead of the flaw.
Yeah,
but it was able to overcome the siren call.
Yeah, so. He was able to overcome the siren call by going to the island with the sirens. You know what I mean? It's like, they could have got you, dude, because you went. So to me, I'm like, that just played out in a way that I was like, interesting. And it made me think about the why, which I just kind of like that. I really liked Annabeth's. And then we're seeing this, the way that Poseidon takes in his other son. Why did his name just slip my mind? Tyson. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying this.
There's a lot of analysis of parents, because even Cersei spoke about her own mother in creating witchcraft and stuff. And so it's like this constant trust parenting. It's that whole idea of where people talked about how millennials, as we've grown up, we've now taken over like Pixar and everything, and now have movies and such that are pretty much fulfilling our need for our parents to apologize to us.
Yeah, so then this just becomes daddy issues, the movie, which is
but when Gen X was out there Gen X was making stuff, literally the kids were just being thrown out to the wolves. Where were the parents? Like, nowhere.
No. They had to make commercials to remind parents to be parents, where it's 10 o'clock. You know where your kids are?
Yes.
To remind people.
You can see each generation as shows go on. You can see it played out. We were literally sent outside. Go outside today. Don't come in the house with you're dirty and sweaty. Go out, come back when the street lights come on. And then the parents had to be reminded, hey, the street lights are on. Are your kids at home? And those are the movies. That's how we were making shows. And so it was totally relatable to us. And so now we're seeing, the millennials. Yeah. Like, you were a bad parent and you were a bad parent.
Yeah. But.
And this is what we wanted from a parent.
I hate that so much though. Because it takes so I can go on a rant here, but like I had the same problem with Frankenstein, where it's I am a bad person because you were a bad parent. Like, it takes away all responsibility, ownership, everything for the character, and it makes them, what's the opposite of proactive? It makes them reactive for everything around them, and that is a less interesting character. And in the real world, that's a less interesting person. If, oh, woe is me, here's the reason why my life is so messed up. and it's just a list of like all these other things. Like when these shows do that, it makes them less.
Yeah, but we're supposed to overcome that. You know, I was definitely a latchkey kid, and I'm the complete opposite. I'm a complete opposite of a latchkey kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it takes the inner work to make the change, and I think it's okay to see that. I think it's okay to see the people who didn't make the change, and they're like, and because we see people, I had to struggle, I had to suffer, so therefore you have to struggle and you have to suffer. And there's people that are like, I had to struggle and suffer. What can I do to change that? Because nobody needs to struggle and suffer like that. And we see that this in the shows, and then we're seeing that in these parents, that just because they've done something one way for all of these, you know, many generations, now we're seeing some of these parents are like, why are we doing this? Well, why are we just throwing away all of this, you know, treating the Cyclopses like this? And, you know, we've seen the results because we've got, you know, the what is the Cyclops that kidnaps Grover and all of that?
Poly something.
Yeah. We see how he is, and then we see Tyson is completely different. So Tyson's not inherently bad. And then we have the one that went after Annabeth. You know what I mean? So we're now reckoning that just because they're a Cyclops, they're not evil because they're a Cyclops. But they've all been told since the beginning, Cyclops bad. But maybe Cyclops not bad, maybe Cyclops bad because they're really treated like crap by their godparents.
Which came first, the reaction to being treated, I was going to say unlawfully, but like the bad treatment came first, or the reaction caused the bad treatment?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like it's the how is evil created and stuff. And at a certain point, yeah, I agree with Ben that there has to be examples of the cycle breaking and everything, and taking ownership and stuff. I think talked about the systemic issues of parenting, and I think I brought this up before about from My Hero Academia, where there's this character who has fire and ice, and the person said to the kid, when the fire and ice kid was refusing to use his fire side because that's his father and it's toxic and everything. And so the main character said to the fire and ice kid, that's your power. And it's like just this awakening moment of like, just because I have this passion, this heat, doesn't mean it has to be anger and destroy. It could be passion, love. It could be like fire, red. It all represents multitude of things. You don't have to put a negative connotation to it just because your parents did.
Yeah. And I really feel like we're seeing this mostly played out with Tyson, because we are getting all of these other Cyclopses who are behaving stereotypically in a way that they're all taught that this is how Cyclopses are. And it makes you wonder, what happens with Tyson if he's left to be on the street, if he's never, you know, taken in? Does he 100 years from now end up like these other Cyclopses? And how long can you be mistreated, you know, before, you know, you say enough's enough and you snap? So I feel like this show is pulling a lot of weight that
weighted stuff
that we didn't see in the book. And so I feel like, which is why I'm glad I watched the show before I reread because I'm like, it felt deeper in many ways. It felt deeper in how we're exploring the friendships, and it felt deeper in how we're exploring the parent-child relationships and the children's actual desires to
the coming of age.
Yeah, they're coming of age, but they, you know, do they want to break away and defy their parents, prove that they can do it better than their parents? Like a lot of kids think, you don't know anything. My parents think they know everything. But honestly, what do they want? They want that good job. You're doing it. You're that validation. I feel like we're seeing this where we saw a little bit of it through Percy's eyes, but now we're seeing different levels in different ways with all of these other characters that we didn't get in the book. So yeah. So that's why I'm enjoying it. I liked. I got to say the changes I liked. To me that it doesn't take away from the book. The book was still very much alike for me. But I'm liking what they're doing with the show, and I think that they are making a show that's more dynamic for a wider depth of people, a wider audience.
So what's y'all's best and worst changes? I personally like how they sped up the beginning, because there was like 5 chapters and Tyson hiding in plain sight situation, and it was a slow unfold. And I'm like, we did slow unfold of, oh my God, there's magic in the world. We don't need to do slow unfold again. And so I kind of glad they sped that along, as well as they showed another side of the parents of this compassion and everything. And it's more, I thought it was beautiful because it wasn't Percy. It was more Percy dealing with a quasi brother at the time than Percy learning that this person that's around him is actually a Cyclops. Like, I was glad the focus was something emotional and relatable, not magical.
Yeah. One of the, I don't know if it's so much of a change or that we get to see it a little bit more, is that I liked being able to see, and as we get to know Tyson, Tyson is super strong, but in the beginning we see people bumping into him. He physically has to move out the way, because if you run into him, you're going to bounce off of him. You know, he's actually, I feel like you see how he's made himself smaller or weaker to fit into society and not, cause people harm. And he seems aloof and kind of like, I really liked the actor. I liked what the actor did with this character. I felt more for him in the show than I did it in the book. And I think that's the way that the actor was able to portray him. I also like the expanded dynamics with the parents. I love the way that they made that scene where they're on Cersei's island, the way that they succinct that with the island and then leaving the island to run into the sirens. I thought that was that fit in that episode so nicely, with having that just a little section is removed. So passing the sirens becomes part of this, you just beat Cersei's, but now you gotta leave the
It did come across as episodic, but I thought it was a beautiful character development episodic. Kind of a, I think they call it a bookend or book. It's usually that where it's, you take all the characters that we know and love and like put them in one place, and it's very, very little wiggle room. So you have to focus on the character development because there's not much world anymore.
Yeah, and I think that they did. Yeah, and I think that they did a good job. They kind of, just kind of encapsulated when Grover and Clarice and Percy are all together on the island. I like the way that most of how that played out. The sheep thing was kind of funny, but I like the way that when they were all
a
together,
nod to Homer fans, as Cersei called it.
Yeah, exactly. I liked that this is another moment where we see the difference between Clarice and Percy when he snatches that cloak from her, because we see the mission is we need to get this and he's willing to give it away. So there are, and a lot of these are the way that it plays out is that they yes, full spoilers, that it doesn't happen this way in the book. So I like
but
that. But
it's logical character arc, character development of choosing to do this.
Yeah, and we see the fatal flaw, because even though we as an audience get to see that um that there might be some changes coming, he's still handing over the fleece to what is essential right now, the enemy, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So I like that we see this fatal flaw play out, and he's just got to have faith that they're still going to be able to get that to complete the mission, after everything. And Clarice is just like, heck no, this is the mission. We've got the fleece. Sorry, Annabelle. Do you know what I mean? And almost that, Grover and Annabelle, even though they're in that middle space, are also like, Clarice is right. The fleece, we can't let the enemies have the fleece. So it worked. I will say it worked. It's a change I thought worked. If we're gonna shorten things, that's a good way to do it. I liked it.
Ben?
Yeah, I've already gone on length into what my least favorite change is. I feel like it will have severe repercussions for the season 3. So Zeus actively turning Talia into a tree, not because she was dying, but because he wanted to silence her, take her off the board, whatever, prevent the 16-year-old prophecy thing. When one of the kids, the big 3, turned 16, the fate of the world will be decided. So he tried to remove her by actively imprisoning his own child. There's no coming back from that in terms of why anybody at Camp Half-Blood should ever side with the Greek gods.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting change. I'm interested to see where they go with this. But
I did say later this year. So I don't think we got to wait for a full year for season.
No, it is. It's December. They're actively filming when this was coming out. Yep. They took a break in the filming to do the promotion, and then went right back to filming. So good on them. It sounds exhausting to me, but they're doing it. So we'll see.
Yeah, they don't want to hear
it. Ready to rock and roll.
Well, the kids are starting to get older, so they probably have less school rules to follow now.
Fair enough. But they don't want Stranger Things, a scenario where you have people in their 20s and 30s playing
adults,
high schoolers.
Yeah. So this is smart, as long they do still have the restrictions. So especially with the characters who are playing Percy and Annabeth. So we have Walker and Leah. They are literal children. The restrictions on them are much more, and so they've talked about how they have to give them like breaks and whole days off and stuff. So but they're making it work. I think the other kids have hit like 18 and 19 and 20, so they're a little bit older.
Which is probably why, like Bridgerton, where we get to follow other people's storylines. That's probably why it's happening in here too, where we get to follow other storylines without the main kids there. For that very reason, you can keep the film going.
They have whole days where they're not, and I think one of the oldest kids is Tyson. I think that Daniel is like 29, 28 or 29, 28. I think when filming 29. But yeah,
I need to know these kids' skincare routine. Goodness,
I know. Yeah. So, any final thoughts? I think our fun fact is that basically Riordan is really, taking a hand in this. It's just nice to see someone who actually wrote the source material making decisions on where the changes are. And I'll be
interested. And that he's not married to the source material too.
No,
even though his source material is Greek mythology, and they didn't change it for this. But he also isn't married to what he created. He's willing to create new storylines and change things.
Yeah, and I'm very interested when it's all done, because I think they're hoping that to get more than 3 seasons. A lot of these shows they greenlight the 3 or 4 seasons and then don't greenlight anymore. So even if they're doing well, that doesn't mean that they're going to get another season. So I think we're greenlit for just the 3. I don't think we're greenlit for a 4th. But whatever they decide, I'd be very interested when it's all done to see what changes were his, what changes were theirs that he said yes. Were there any changes that he was like, absolutely not? I don't like this. I don't want this. So I'd be very interested to see when it's all done, because they're kind of still in the thick of it, right now. I think that they're filming now. I don't know if they've wrapped up yet, but I know that they filmed.
They definitely filmed a dance scene.
Yeah, they've already filmed the dance. That's right. We got a little sneak peek.
That's at the end of the last episode for anyone who doesn't know.
Keep watching. And
I will say though, I wonder if this is going to create another movement. So like 2000s period was like fantasy. We had Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Twilight. It was this fantasy drive. The teens, I would think, is more of the apocalyptic is what we kind of went more towards. We had Walking Dead, Divergent series, Maze Runner, like all these things. That was kind of the big push. And now I wonder and you know what? I'll also include in the apocalyptic, because it's a little bit tied to it, thanks to Endgame, but the superheroes of the teens, like that was like the big movement. And I wonder if now our next big movement is going to be mythologies across, hopefully not just Greek, but let's like bring in the Mayan mythologies. Let's bring in the Nordic mythologies. Like,
Natalie, I would love you to be right.
I know. I would too.
The movement that we're currently going through is just existing IP, where they're just regurgitating what is already owned, was already popular, was already
and give us more and more and more of the thing that's
something they can manage in case the writers go on strike or.
Yeah.
So I would love to have like a Mayan based mythology series, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah, without butchering it. And that's a whole other thing, is that you run into the issue of, if you're going to use it, what are you going to do to it? Because sometimes we don't always do nice things with other people's.
It makes me think of that quote from Jurassic Park where it's like, did you ever question if you should?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's funny you say that.
But if they could do a good job and get the right people involved, I would love to see you use some other things. That would be kind of awesome. But we will see. But this would be, using.
I guess we'll talk in probably January next year, because they do the staggered release, and we like all the episodes to be out before we do this evaluation. So
yeah. Speaking of which, what we've got coming up, since that's all of our final thoughts on that one, coming up in February, we are going to be doing Precious. Natalie, what was the book called again?
So the book was originally called, hold on, I got it's written down in my planner. Seriously, I didn't write it. Yeah. But I'm excited for this because I know, for example, little behind the scenes is that Mariah Carey wanted to be on set, and they were like, fine, but no makeup, no diva act, nothing. If you want to be in this, you can't do any of that, have any of it. She was like, okay.
Yes, it was called Push. It's Push by Sapphire.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes. I was like, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I could not think of it to save my life. So yeah, we are going to be talking about that in February. We had plans for March and April, but guys, we're trying to wait for some of these shows to be available without everybody having
free.
Yes. Meaning for free, at least if you have the service. And it seems like things are changing, because everything that we want to do is either pay or still going to be in a pay slot. when we're wanting to do them. So we will let you guys know what we're going to do for March and April. But we are going to be doing Project Hail Mary coming up this year. Fingers crossed if we can at least get on a streaming service without additional money. And we are also going to do Wicked Part 2. Again, that Wicked's one we're trying to wait to get it to where you can just watch it on the service without
luckily Wicked will probably come sooner because Wicked was released in November of last year, so it's kind of coming up due to be released. But when things are released on streaming services, there's still a paywall for a little bit before it becomes free.
So as soon as we know we're putting it on the schedule, we are ready for it. And then Project Hail Mary will be after that, most likely, unless for some reason it goes really quick, which I don't think it will, because if it's even half as good as The Martian, which it probably will be, I think they're going to try and get their money's worth out of it. But I am super looking forward to both of those. Those are probably my most anticipated for the year, are Project Hail Mary and Wicked, because I got to go to see Wicked live. It was awesome.
Okay, brag some more.
But I will say,
we have plans. Stay with us. We will let you know what we're going to do. Right now, next one is Precious, is what the movie's called. Push is what the book is called. It's written by Sapphire. One word. She doesn't have she's like Madonna, Prince.
We love it.
Cher, all of
them. Yeah, so that's what we have. Let's go ahead and do our outros, guys. Natalie, where can the folks find you? Where will you be?
I'm most active on Instagram, and that's where I keep most of my updates, which is it's Writer Locke, Locke with an E at the end, by the way, because let's have a silent letter. Why not? And yeah, that's where I'm most active, and you'll be able to see it, as well as get access to the books that I already have out, as well as upcoming, because I also share the books of my friends, and I am an avid audiobook reader, and so I'm thinking about jumping back in where I do monthly snapshots of what audiobooks I had that month. So nice. It's a considering. Don't hold me to it, please. Nobody copy this and like play it in front of my face when it's June and I haven't done anything yet. So then you usually do Mondays, but now you're changing.
Well, no, it's normally Mondays. I just need to switch up the couple of last Monday, whatever. There's some things going on, so there's a couple of things on Monday nights. So normally it's Monday night, 6 p.m. You can find me on YouTube as Running2Write. But this upcoming Monday, I actually did early, so I did yesterday at noon. And then next Monday, I have a community meeting, so I'm going to be hosting it on Saturday at noon on Saturday. So normally you can find me there on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
Nice. And of course, Ben is linked down below, guys, so you can just give Ben a follow. That way you can watch along and hang out with Ben when he's doing his writing sprints. Same with Natalie. If you like and subscribe to her links down below, then you can just follow her whenever she's on. You can go hang out. Everybody here is pretty cool people, so you'll have a good time. You'll have a really good time.
We don't have to mask here, at least.
No.
I mean, the fact that we can openly go, I disagree. I mean,
I love that. I love that because
love it when we disagree. It's great.
I do too. Because I'm like, why? Tell me. It's always awesome. I love the yin and yang, and we're not all going to like everything. And even when we like things, we don't always like it to the same degree. So it's nice to hear other people's opinions. And sometimes I'm like, Ben, it's totally valid, but I like to say
I can understand it. I just still don't agree.
Exactly.
I'm like, I can't get the feeling from that process, but I totally see how you get the feeling.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in season 3, and if they can get up to 4 and 5 and finish out with the last of the Olympian, like.
And I love these discussions because it's so much more than just I don't like it. Just because I don't like it. It's not like the book. It's never like that. Ben's always got great takes.
Okay, we actually did our homework before coming on stream.
Yeah.
I have to rely on Natalie for a lot of things.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with us. We will be doing it again next month. Come watch Precious, read the book Push, and come hang out with us. And of course, if you're watching on the replay, which we get so many views on the replay, thank you guys. Go ahead if you want, leave us a comment below. If I see it, I'll reply. So thank you so much. We are going to get out of here. And we'll see you next month. Bye.